once we're done, then I can refer back to it.
Okay. All righty. Well, welcome. I want to thank you for joining today's conversation regarding Maryland Saves. My name is Angie, and I am hoping to share some information that will yield a better understanding of the Maryland Saves program. So feel free to ask your questions throughout the presentation, and I'll do my best to answer them. Or indicate that information is forthcoming that will speak to the questions that you have. Hello, Patrice, this is Angie. Thank you for joining us today. Just want to let you know that we do have a recording in process here for the Maryland Saves program. All right, if there are any questions that you would have that we are unable to answer at this time, I will commit to further investigation to secure answers to any of those questions that we can't address here today. So you can expect to see and hear a few specific things today. One will be an overview of the program. That is the employer program details, some employee program details. We will talk about steps that can be taken to certify your business exemption from the program if qualified. And we will also talk about steps to get your business and subsequently your employees registered for the program. So I'm going to start on the Maryland Saves website. I'm going to share that screen. And it was my goal to go ahead and actively navigate the website while we're chatting, because it is the website that you will be using as an employer, either to register for the program or to exempt yourself. So I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen at the moment. All right. So this is the Maryland Saves website. It is marylandsaves.com. And on this, you'll learn that Maryland Saves is a state-mandated retirement plan option for employees of businesses who are actively operating in the state of Maryland. The program was launched in September of 2022, and it was created out of the desire to encourage Marylanders to be aware of the need to save for retirement and to equip Marylanders with the opportunity to do so. And you're going to read on here about the absence of retirement savings that are becoming more and more evident in society in general. But again, this is Maryland's attempt to encourage Marylanders to save for their retirement. So an employer must register the business if the business has at least one W-2 employee, if the business does not already offer a qualified retirement plan, and if the business uses an automated payroll service. Employers can certify as exempt from the plan if the business was founded on or after. You can certify to exempt if the business was founded on or after January 1st, 2021. Any business active for less than 2 years does not have to register until reaching that 2-year anniversary of being in business. Employers can certify as exempt if the business already offers a qualified retirement plan, and employers can register as exempt if the business is currently processing payroll manually. So registering or certifying your business exemption before December 1st of 2022. Now that is Thursday, but if you can register on the last day of November, which is tomorrow, or register today before December 1st, your business will qualify for a $300 waiver on your annual report filing fee for entities that are doing business in the state of Maryland. This is also frequently referred to as your Maryland personal property tax return. So you as an employer are a facilitator and do not have any fiduciary responsibilities. Your responsibilities as a participating employer include registering, entering voluntary deduction data for your employees into your payroll processing system or reporting them to your payroll processor, and then forwarding employee contributions to Maryland Saves. So let's take a look here at the website. Again, you're going to want to access marylandsaves.com. There is a marylandsaves.org website, but the program wants to drive everyone to marylandsaves.com. .org was intended to be an internal function. However, it's made its way into the mainstream. So just be sure that you are logging on to marylandsaves.com. So again, this is your home page. And it's going to describe to you concerns that Marylanders are not saving enough for retirement. But I want to scroll down here to these two blocks, which are going to be the most important for you to have access to as an employer, and then eventually any employees as a saver. So Maryland was to be mailing out what they're calling unique access codes for Maryland Saves. We have experienced clients receiving their code, and there are a number of clients we have that have not yet received their access code. So if you have not received your access code, you'll want to be aware of this link right here where you can request one. If you are certifying an exemption without an access code, you will want to be aware and notice this link right here.
I have a question. Hi.
Yes. Hi,
Good
Patrice.
morning. I'm sorry, before when I was speaking to you, I didn't have my mic on. Is this just for corporations that have a FIN number like S Corp, C Corp, sole proprietorship? Or is this also like, can it also work for someone that's maybe like myself? I do consulting.
This is available to any Maryland business that has a W-2 employee.
Okay, so if you're not using W-2, but you're doing 1099s, it's not available to you.
There is one caveat that we'll see on a screen as we get to it, and references self-employed individuals.
Okay, great. All right, I'll wait. All right, thank you.
You are welcome, Patrice. So again, you are looking for a unique access code. If you are an employer that plans on registering for the program, an employer that is not exempt from registering for a program, and you have not received an access code, you will want to request one here. Now, the request is going to take about 45 days. And when you click on this link, this is what you're going to see. It's going to ask you for your business detail, contact information. You will need your FEIN number. You will need your SDAT number. And then this is the personal contact information within the business that Maryland Saves would like to receive. There's a simple little CAPTCHA down here at the bottom before you hit submit, and filling out this form will allow you to receive that, that business code. All right. So, and again, exemption without an access code, we'll talk about this more a little bit later. So I'm going to scroll up here, and I am going to go to the employers tab, and we're going to look at some program details. So the details on here that I'd like you to take notice of is Maryland employers are to offer their employees some sort of retirement savings. This can be the traditional pension, 401k plan, 403b, SEP, simple IRA, or governmental deferred compensation plan. If you're a business that has any of these retirement options already in place, you can certify as exempt. These are the qualified plans that will allow you to certify as an exempt employer. And the other thing on here to point out is, again, certifying exempt with a qualified plan also allows those businesses to qualify for the $300 waiver on your Maryland annual return, your personal property tax return. So registering as a participant or certifying yourself as exempt, both of those options qualify you here to receive that $300 waiver. All right, I'm going to scroll back up here. We're going to go over here to help and resources, and we're going to look at the program resources page. And I'm going to scroll down here, and we're going to look at the employer fact sheet. All right.
Now,
So
to get the discount, the $300 discount, you have to have registered or enrolled by the first. However, you said that it would take you 45 days to get the access code to register.
that is correct. And the state of Maryland is honoring anyone who requests an access code before December 1st to qualify for the waiver as well. So the language is going to say register or exempt yourself by December 1st. However, knowing that it takes time to get that access code, if it has not yet been received, there is a grace period as long as you request that access code before December 1st.
Fabulous. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so as we're looking here at this employer fact sheet, the first thing that I do want to point out to you indicates that the retirement savings program is free for employers. It doesn't cost the employer any cash flow out, and it takes less than 15 minutes to enroll. I would challenge this statement. I would plan to spend a little more than 15 minutes, depending on the number of employees that you have to include in your roster, and also depending on the comfortability one would have navigating particular registration screens. So the encouragement is 15 minutes, but I don't want you to be disappointed when you spend more than 15 minutes getting your employees registered. The other thing down here that I'd like to point out to you is that the Maryland Saves program is funded by employee savings. There are no employer fees, and employer contributions are not allowed. So there will be no option for you to contribute as an employer to this plan. The employers have no fiduciary responsibility, and your employee participation is completely voluntary. They can opt out at any time, and employees' savings are deposited into the language used is personal work-life accounts. So you will see that terminology used throughout the website. However, it is a Roth IRA administered by a private sector financial firm. Now, something to be aware of is if your employees are already contributing to IRAs and other capacities, they should talk with their tax advisor about any restrictions or limitations they may have in participating and the levels at which they can participate in this program. All right. So we're going to go back up again to the, let me look down here first to be sure there isn't anything else. Let's talk about a little bit down here about which employers should register. Again, you are required to facilitate the Maryland Saves program. And facilitate is a key word here because you are essentially registering for the program, giving your employees an opportunity to participate, and then you are only sending their contributions through to the program based on if they choose to participate and at what level. But you are required to facilitate if your business is registered to conduct business in the state of Maryland, you have at least one W-2 employee, and you don't currently offer a retirement savings program to your employees. If you are required to participate if your business was founded on or before January 1st, 2021. This is where the exclusion for being less than 2 years old in the business comes in. And then also, if you pay your employees through an automated payroll system, those are the qualifications for you to register. And again, the state is big on continuing to reinforce the waiver of that $300 annual fee. Down here regarding your employees, it is a fairly simple process for them to get registered. Once an employer registers and supplies employee rosters and contact information, the state reaches out to the employee to arrange relationship with the employee. So employee enrollment is automatic once an employee roster is uploaded by the employer. Employees save with each paycheck through automated payroll contributions. They can make changes to any time to their account because this account is owned by the employee. The employee can make changes at any time by logging on as a saver and accessing their account. And this is an account that will follow the employee throughout job changes because it is built on a relationship with the employee and the state, and any current employer is only acting as a facilitator. That account will travel with the employee across job changes for their contributory lifetime. And something else that's interesting is by default, once an employee chooses to opt in or does not choose to opt out, by default, Maryland Saves, the work-life accounts, will populate the first $1,000 of contributions into an emergency savings feature. This was designed to help an employee with some unforeseen expenses and give some immediate access to the first $1,000 that they would be able to contribute to that account, so they can feel as if it's a bit of a safety net should they incur any unknown expenses after this process would start for them.
Angie, I have a quick question for you.
Sure.
Is this for full-time or part-time or both?
It can be for
employees?
both.
Okay, so if you only have part-time employees, then are you required to file?
Yes.
Okay. Okay,
Yes,
because I
ma'am.
have several part-time employees, so I just wanted to be sure.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
Okay.
Good question. You're welcome. You are welcome. All right. Any questions, other questions about that employer fact sheet? All right. Okay, so we are going to look here at a registration checklist for employers. So this list here is just going to prepare you as an employer who is needing to register with the program. So as you prepare to set up your account, you're going to need your company's SDAT number. You're going to need the unique access code that you either already have in your possession or that you will request. You will use your payroll provider's name and your company's payroll schedule. Now, your payroll provider name, if you would happen to be a Saunders client and Saunders provides your payroll, you're going to choose QuickBooks Payroll. But there is a very lengthy list of payroll providers that are already pre-populated for you to choose from, for users to choose from, such as Paychex and ADP. QuickBooks Online Payroll is on there, as well as a wealth of other options to choose based on who's producing your payroll for you. You're going to need your company's bank information, so a routing number and an account number for the account that's used, that you process your payroll through, because the employee, what the employee chooses to have withheld from their paycheck, you're going to submit through that bank account to Maryland Saves. You're going to need your latest employee roster and accompanying personal information. You need their name, of course, address, city, state, zip. You're going to need their date of birth, their social security number. An email address is also, it's not required, but it is desired, because the information that you give Maryland Saves, that's how Maryland Saves is going to contact the employee. And an email address makes it much more streamlined for that communication to happen. And then
Angie,
this,
I'm sorry. I have
no,
one
sorry, go
further
ahead.
question for you. So our employees then, once we get them registered, okay, and so you as our payroll provider or company that does our payroll, you handle taking that money and sending it to the state, or do we send it to the state, or is it debited out of our account?
Sure. Well, the payroll provider, us specifically here at Saunders, we will rely on the employer to manage the registration process and to manage the updating us with employee changes in employee deductions and contributions. Excuse me. We can be the person that schedules your payments to Maryland Saves, but we will rely on you as the employer to manage, again, the registration, the updating of your roster, and educating us with any contribution changes of your employees. And that would be the same of most payroll processors, I believe. Again, I can't speak to what other payroll processors are doing, not being part of their teams or their processes. But when you register as an employer, there is an email address that is provided that is the primary email address or primary method of communication that Maryland Saves will choose to communicate directly with the employer.
Okay, so then, so let's say, okay, so I'm an employee and I decide I want to send $100 a month to the savings account. And that would be deducted out of my paycheck and you would send it to the state?
If that is the arrangement that you make with Saunders, yes.
Okay, okay. All right, I just wasn't sure how that worked out.
Any other questions?
So then how do we set that up with you? Is that just something that we email you or we work on it with our payroll? I'm not sure how.
Yeah, you would work out an arrangement directly with the person who is processing your payroll initially, and understand any fees and or processes that would be associated with that. But
Okay.
typically, once the program is set up, it becomes pretty systematic on
Okay.
how to forward the amount of that payment to Maryland Saves.
Got it. Okay, easy enough.
All right, very good. So again,
Thank you.
oh, you're very welcome, Barb. Thank you for the question. So as you are preparing to get your account set up, you're going to set up the business online. We're going to walk through that here in just a bit. You're going to complete the employer onboarding. And then 30 days after your onboarding is completed is when you as an employer should expect to receive communication from Maryland Saves regarding any levels of contribution that your employees have chosen to participate in. And then after that 30 days ongoing, you will receive communication as the employer. You will receive communication directly from Maryland Saves regarding any changes that employees have made to their withholding desires. And you will also need to update your employee roster with any new hires that join your team. All right. And again, we'll walk through that registration process here in just a few moments. So on the Savers side, there are some details that I'd like to point out for you here. So the marylandsaves.com can easily be a resource for your savers, for your employees as well, for them to learn more about the program. And again, when they hear from Maryland Saves after you've updated your employee roster, Maryland Saves is going to drive them to this website as well. But some things that I wanted to point out to you is once the employer signs up an employee for Maryland Saves, these are the things that an employee chooses to do. They do nothing. If they don't engage at all, they are going to be automatically enrolled in the savings and investment options that most people use. So if an employee chooses not to engage, Maryland says a no response means yes, I'm participating. An employee can go in and customize their savings, and an employee can choose to go in and opt out of the program completely if they do not want to participate. So an important thing to realize is that an employee who does nothing and does not engage the process, does not log in, their automatic enrollment starts at 5% per paycheck that will be considered contributed by that employee. This is also illustrates who can get a work-life account for Maryland Saves. Anyone who works in Maryland and is at least 18 years old is eligible to participate. There are no hourly limits. There are no hours required to work to participate. Anyone who works in Maryland and is at least 18 years old. When it comes to deciding how much to save, you can choose a maximum of 10%. If you don't engage at all, as I said, the program will start withholding at 5%. And you can choose to go lower than 5%. The minimum you can choose is 1%. And each year, that percentage is going to increase by 1% unless an employee goes into their account and manually chooses to keep it static at whatever rate they originally chose or change it in any other way as well. But the employee is in control of the experience. Even if they don't go in, even if they don't choose to engage the program or sign in, that is deemed as them making a choice to participate. Any questions about that?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, now we are going to review how to certify your exemption and or the process of getting registered. So we are back here on the homepage of Maryland Saves, and we're going to go down to these blocks that we noticed at the beginning of the presentation. And certifying exempt couldn't be easier, couldn't be quicker. If you do have an access code, you can choose to certify your exemption here on this screen, employer screen. You can choose to certify your exemption by clicking on this link. And it will take you to a screen where it's going to request your SDAT number and it's going to request your access code. Make sure up here it says exempt my company. And then you're going to begin that process and answer the relevant questions that are necessary. If you don't have an access code, you are going to come down here and certify your exemption without an access code. And you're going to click on this link. And it's going to take you to a form that says certify compliance and claim filing fee waiver. So we clicked on that because we don't have an access code. So of course we're going to skip that top recommendation. I don't have an access code. So you're going to continue down the form. And this is where you're going to be able to choose why you are exempt from the program. So if you are a federal government agency or unit, if you offer a qualified retirement program, these two are a little bit overlapping or confusing because this one, of course, I offered a retirement program to my employees during the preceding 2 calendar years. And this one is I already offer a retirement program to my employees. There is a little bit of difference in those statements, but there's not a lot of clarification available on the meaning of this language. But regardless, you offer a retirement plan to your employees. Your business has not been in business at all times during this calendar year and the preceding calendar year. That could speak to seasonal employers. My business does not have any W-2 employees, or I do not use an automated payroll system or service. So you would choose one of those qualifying exemptions to be certified exempt from the program. If you are certifying because your business offers a current qualified retirement program, you'd click this checkbox. You'd continue to go down and fill in all the relevant business information, including your federal EIN, and you will need your SDAT number for completing this exemption form. You will complete the relevant employer contact. Who do you want to talk to the state about it if they have questions? They want to know how many employees you have. And then this simple CAPTCHA down here where you'll put in a 2-digit. Now the submit button is here before the email. I would fill in this email again first, even though it's up here. I would fill that in and then hit your submit button for that process. And once one chooses to do that, if you are an exempt employer, that is the end of the process for you. You should get some communication from the state validating that they've received your certification, and you will then qualify for that $300 waiver from your Maryland annual business return. Any questions about that? All right. So we are going to move on to what you would do if you are choosing to register. So if you don't have an access code, you're going to come down here and request one before December 1st so that you qualify for the $300 waiver. On this request one, again, it looks very similar to that exemption form, except it doesn't have that exemption information at the top. It's going to collect your business name, federal ID number, your SDAT, the employer contact, your CAPTCHA, and submit. So if you do not have a current access code and you need to register, fill out this form today or tomorrow to secure that $300 waiver for 2023. So when you get your access code, or if you already have your access code, you can register your business by clicking on this link here. And here you have register my company, SDAT and access code. Now I'm going to open this slideshow here to show you what you can expect to see as you register. So we're going to register my business. It's going to open up to the screen that we just saw, requesting your SDAT number, requesting your access code. Once you enter those things, this is the email address that you want Maryland Saves to communicate with. So this would be a business-related email address. I'd avoid using a personal email address in here. A business email address that Maryland Saves will use to communicate with your business. Once you select confirm, you're going to be asked to set a password. Again, your relevant needs are down here so that your password confirms with what they need it to confirm. Of course, you're going to have to agree with the terms and use. And then you're going to come down to this screen where you're going to start your onboarding process. So if you click that onboarding process, we're going to move down here. It's going to ask for your company name and doing business as, if you're doing business as something other than your legal company name. And here it's going to collect your company data, your basic info, your EIN. The address that it's going to ask for here, it cannot be a PO address. It has to be your physical address. Please keep that in mind as you're filling this form out. And let us know where you receive physical mail. If you don't want your physical mail to go to that physical address that you previously stated, you're going to choose this no button and enter in a PO box or somewhere else where you would like to receive physical mail from Maryland Saves. You're always going to hit save and continue here before you go to the next screens. Here's where it's going to ask you what type of payroll system you use. This is a drop-down menu that is populated with a very, very large number of options for you to choose from. And again, this is where you would choose Barb QuickBooks Payroll, because that is what Saunders uses, QuickBooks Online Payroll, to process your payroll system. But again, there are a plethora of options to choose from based on how you do your payroll. All right. It's wanting to know your payroll schedule. So do you pay bi-weekly? Do you pay weekly? Do you pay semi-monthly? There's even an option here for some employers who don't have a regular payroll schedule for some reason, but there is that option that you don't have a regular payroll schedule. That is an option to choose. There also is an option here. If you have multiple payroll schedules, you will be able to create more than one, but you need to start with one. So you would enter a name here, weekly payroll or biweekly payroll. This is whatever you choose to name this payroll group that is relevant to you. And then you're going to choose the schedule that is accurate for the payroll that you are about to enter. You're going to save the payroll schedule, and then you'll see the option here to add another one if you potentially have some employees, maybe owners, pay themselves once a month if they're a W-2 employee, as opposed to paying employees biweekly. So that would be one of the reasons why you might choose a second payroll option there. How will you fund your contributions for each pay schedule? This is where your bank account information comes in. So this drop down, you can choose your bank account, which is most common and recommended. You can submit with a paper check. However, I would not recommend that being an option chosen. However, if it is your only option, you are welcome to do that. And then this ACH push, it's a very uncommon method to use, and it's not something that I would recommend you choosing. But after you choose that bank account, it's going to ask you your bank account information. So you would choose to add your bank account here, and it's going to capture your routing number and your account number. Actually, when you choose to add a bank account, I got a little ahead of the horse ahead of the cart there. You're going to choose how you want to connect your bank account. I would recommend entering your bank account information manually, because you can do your double checks with your numbers as you're entering that in. You'll hit continue and enter your data. And then once you enter all of your numbers, your account number and your routing number, you're going to get your bank account here with that green check mark indicating that it's been validated. You also need your bank name in that process too. So now it'll be time to add your employees. This is just a reminder screen of what you will need, and it reviews all of the information that we reviewed about having ready and prepared before you get to this process. Their social security number, name, birth date, payroll ID if you have one, email address, home address, etc.
Angie, I have a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
So we in the future may hire folks who already have a 401k in place with an existing company. Can they transfer that into this Maryland Saves to continue building with this is a Roth IRA, right?
Correct. That is something I would have them talk to a tax advisor about. However, they always have the option to opt out and continue. You're speaking of it was a prior employer-sponsored 401k.
Correct.
Yes.
So let's say I worked for somebody else
Mhm.
and I had, I have a 401k that, has, I don't know, let's just say 75,000 in it.
Right.
And I'm changing jobs and I want to move my 401k to my existing company.
Mhm.
Do I do that with the Maryland Saves?
That's a really great question, Barb. I don't have an immediate answer for you on that
Okay.
question, but it is something that I will log and can get back to you on. Now, I know that there are options for a saver to get advice on that type of money management and money movement. The name of the organization that is managing Maryland Saves is vestwell.com. But those are questions that I would recommend the employee asking of Vestwell regarding what those transfer options are, if there are any, and also how to accomplish that, because the employer would have no participation in the movement
Right.
of that account. And then also, because you don't have fiduciary responsibility, it puts the impetus on those that have the best knowledge to guide that employee in the best way possible.
Okay, Investwell, VESTWELL.com.
Well, that is the name of the company, but they are going to do all of their communication through Maryland Saves.
Okay. Okay. All righty. It almost seems like that even setting up this Maryland Saves because it's required, but in all honesty, a regular 401k is going to be better for the employee.
Right. I would agree. And we just had another participant join us. Hi, Tom. We are recording this session. All right. Employee screens. This is where it's basically a grid. There is an option to secure a template from the website that you could fill in offline and then upload that file right here if you chose to do that. Or you can manually enter the data into this screen here. This screen does scroll out farther to the right to give you space for address, email address, birth date, those types of items that are required to enter.
Okay, so we enter all employees and then they go in, set up their own account, and they choose whether or not they want to opt out or opt in.
That's correct. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right.
Oh, because you're signed in as you.
That is correct.
Okay.
Any other questions about the data entry screen? All right. So once you've entered your employees, you get to celebrate a little bit with success. And it's going to tell you that your onboarding is complete. It really is a simple process for getting your employees onboarded and getting registered. It does take a little more than 15 minutes. And then to confirm what Barb has said, that yes, once you have your employees registered, Maryland Saves will use their contact information to reach out and reach out to those employees and give them some education on how to engage the program and the process. So onboarding is
Angie,
yes.
I'm sorry, I have one more question. Okay,
Sure.
so we set up before December 1st, and then they send us a code within 45 days, and then we upload our employees,
That is correct.
or we upload our employees prior to without the access code.
No, without the access code, you will not be able to begin the registration process at
Got
all.
it. Okay, just clarifying. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. You are very welcome. So after you would hit OK in the onboarding process, you're going to get a final screen where you can verify that you've entered all of your employees. If you've missed one for some reason, you can choose to add another employee here. You can choose to download your report to verify what you've entered. I would recommend accessing this icon over here. It's a company information icon because it's going to allow you to come down here and verify your company name as well. And your plan contact info, just make sure that all of that information is correct as entered, or edit and add something that you may have missed. And that is the registration process in a nutshell. Any questions about that?
No,
All
thank
right.
you. Thank you very much. Very informative.
You are welcome. I'm going to stop sharing the screen at this moment in time, but any lingering questions that have come up while the presentation was happening that you haven't posed yet? Very good. If any questions do arise, don't hesitate to reach out to our office. We will attempt to help answer questions for you in any way we can. And again, the marylandsaves.com website is a fantastic resource to dig down into and learn more about the program. But I hope that the navigation of that site today was helpful for you and gave you a little bit more information and equipped you maybe a little more than you've been equipped thus far on the program.
Now, I am curious, you said something about if someone is self-employed.
Yes, let's see. There is I am going to look for that here on this site. .com. Employers program details. Let me see if I can find that for you quickly, Patrice. And if I cannot, I will connect with you outside this program
Okay,
for that detail, because I'm not putting my fingers on it very promptly. But Patrice, I will take a moment and send you a link to where you can read
Okay.
more about that as well.
Thank you.
You are very welcome.
And
Any-
Angie, you're gonna send us this recording so that we can refer back to it if we need to.
I will get permissions to do that from our owner,
Okay.
Beverly Stately. So I'm not promising, but I'm sure that it can be an option, but I need to have approval before sending the data out from our office.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Anything else? Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I am grateful for your participation and your presence, and also the questions you asked were very relevant, and I hope the other participants gained a little bit more knowledge on Maryland Saves than you had before signing in today. Thank you all so much for joining, and have a great day.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thanks again.
Mm-hmm.